Oh, welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host, Erin David, the channel that brings you your team every single day. We're back this afternoon with some updates around Alex Lowry, around Mohamed Diomande, around transfers, around Ben Davies. Bad news on Abdallah Sima and Kieran Dowell, and obviously more news ahead of the game against Hibernian tomorrow. That's a crucial game that we need to get 3 points from to ensure that we keep the pressure on that lot from across the city. Well, let's start with the news about Mohamed Diomande. Now, in his press conference today, Philippe Clement refused to be drawn on whether or not that was an actual, genuine possibility that deal will be done soon. He refused to comment on, as he put it, rumours, reports, etc. I think he's obviously maintaining a very professional line as it comes to signings and transfers, which is the way to be. You know, you cannot go commenting on people's players, especially when that player is not officially your player. It will alienate clubs and make clubs less willing to want to do business with you in the long term. Now, what was interesting as regards Diomande, though, is the reports away from the press conference today that the transfer fee, initially thought to be quite low for Diomande, in the region of £1.5 to £2 million, is actually an awful lot higher than that. Now, some of you may have read 5 million. That's actually in euro. The actual price in pounds, according to a lot of reports, is £4.5 million. Now, this, of course, is a substantial outlay by the club on a player. Now, this, of course, would fly massively in the face of the narrative that has been spun from across the city and from other areas in Scotland that Rangers are, in their words, skint. Well, boys, if we're skint, how can we afford to spend £4.5 million on a player? I don't think we are. And I think it's time that spurious rumour ended here and now. And you just admitted what we all know about that lot from across the city is they know absolutely nothing about football and absolutely nothing about our club, despite their obsession with us. Also quite funny as well in regard to transfers was Philippe Clement's comments around Niels Coppen. He was asked about Niels Coppen, and he said that whenever his phone rings at night, his wife knows that it's Niels, which is good, that it's obviously not someone else ringing him, obviously a sort of mild joke as to another woman or something along those lines. But he said that Niels Coppen is a workaholic, and he also joked that, in his words, that January had very short nights and he was looking forward to February. Obviously, the club clearly working hard to get players over the line. That is obviously a strong desire of all of us fans that happens sooner rather than later. But it's good to see that Philippe and Niels are quite clearly working very closely to get this done. And I think, Niels Coppen is someone who can really turn this club into, I think, being a club, along with the work of Zeb Jacobs in the academy, as we spoke about on the video yesterday, like an Ajax, like a Porto, like a PSV, in terms of bringing through players and developing them. Now, he was also asked about Alex Lowry. Now, I know a few fans would like to see Alex given an opportunity to play this season. However, Philippe Clement confirmed that this would not be happening. Alex will be going out on loan again. Now, the reason for this, he said, that basically was that, look, at the end of the day, Alex Lowry is not going to get the minutes that he needs in this team, that he's not going to get an opportunity to play this season. He says Alex needs to play regularly and is not going to get that chance at Rangers due to, I think, obviously the weight of players in his position. Tom Lawrence, Todd Cantwell, Diomande now. There's a lot of players in that position. Now, he spoke about Alex Lowry in terms of the fact that, this would be reevaluated at the end of the season. But he said this was the move now. They were aiming to send him out on loan. They were aiming to find a club for him. He refused to be drawn on whether that would be Scotland or down south or somewhere else in Europe. But it is quite clear that Alex Lowry does not have a part to play this season for Rangers and will be heading out on loan. So I know that'll disappoint a few of you, because I know a lot of you, or not a lot of you, but I know a fair few Rangers fans were hoping that maybe, just maybe, that he could get an opportunity to play this season for Rangers, that he would get that chance. But like I said, it does now look like that is a very, very that is not going to happen, and he is heading out on loan. That was confirmed by the boss today in his press conference. So, that's quite clear. Obviously, we know that Hadji can't return either, because we know that the Hadji deal is purely based on the fact that for him to return, it would have to be that Alaves want to cancel his loan. And I think it's quite clear at this point, despite any remarks by his manager perhaps not been the most favourable towards him, that they do not at this stage want to cancel that loan. So Yanis Hadji obviously is staying in Spain. Also, there was talk about a number of other players within the team. Now, one of the players that was questioned about was Robbie Mcrorie. Now, there's been an awful lot of reports in the media as regards Robbie, reports that he wants out, reports that he wants more regular first team minutes, reports that that Rangers could send him out on loan or sell him this transfer window. Philippe Clement said today that is an absolute no. It is not going to happen. Robbie Mcrorie is remaining at Rangers at least until the end of the season. Now, that caused a bit of surprise amongst the press, apparently. But as Philippe Clement said, that is it's 6 months, and then we evaluate again at the end of the season. Robbie has had some minutes against Hertha, against Copenhagen. He's had some minutes in the Scottish Cup. And I think a lot of people hope that he will continue to get minutes in the Scottish Cup after giving a good account of himself against Dumbarton. I understand it was only Dumbarton, but it was a definite situation where Clement said, no, he is going nowhere. He is remaining at Rangers. He has not been sent out on loan, and he is not being sold. He said, basically, why would we want to let Mcrorie go when we don't have another goalkeeper? Which, you can kind of take as a bit of an insult to John McLaughlin and Kieran Wright, maybe. I can see the Kieran Wright point. The guy has no first-team experience. And John McLaughlin's not a good goalkeeper anyway. Clearly, Philippe Clement thinks the same. So Robbie Mcrorie is going absolutely nowhere, which is good news for Rangers. Certainly Jack Butland has been an absolute superstar this season. Jack Butland is, without a shadow of doubt, our best player. And I think, when we talk about the fact the squad needs an overhaul and a raising quality in every single area, I think the one area you can say where Rangers don't need a raise in the standards and raising quality is the goalkeeping position, where Jack Butland has been absolutely outstanding this season. Positive news there that Robbie stays. Obviously disappointing if you wanted Alex Lowry to get an opportunity this season. Unfortunately, Abdallah Sima is a long-term injury. Now, Philippe Clement has said today that there is no definite timescale yet. He said to the press they are to ask him after the match tomorrow, once he has had the opportunity to talk with his medical staff. He doesn't know yet where that injury is, but he did confirm it is a long-term injury, which means that Abda joins the likes of Danilo and Kemar Roof on the injured list, and Kieran Dowell. We'll talk a little bit about Kieran in a moment. Obviously very disappointing given the start that Abda has made to the season. 15 goals this season. Been one of our best players this season. I think along with Jack Butland, you can kind of say that Abdallah Sima has been probably one of the players of this season. Now, it's exceptionally disappointing that we're going to lose him. Exceptionally disappointing that we lose a player of this standard. Now, Philippe Clement talked about the fact that he wanted to be optimistic, that he didn't want to be a cup half empty guy, that he, this obviously presents opportunities for other players, and it certainly does. Maybe it is a position that Fabio Silva fills. He can work from that side, a chance for Matondo to refine some of that form he had at the start of the season. Maybe Ross McCausland switches to the left, Scott Wright to the right, or perhaps if we do go and get Million Manhuff, as was discussed, then he comes in and replaces. It is options appear to be on the table, but I think concentrating on what we do know, what is concrete, what is here and now, is that Abda is out for a long-term injury. We don't know precisely how long. Now, what was also worryingly discussed as well was the fact that if this injury is perhaps a bit more serious than we perhaps first thought, that he will in fact return to his parent club, Brighton, for treatment. Apparently, Rangers have been in close contact with Brighton already as regards Abda's injury, and they are keeping Brighton and Hove Albion up to speed with Abdallah Sima's injury. Now, of course, Abdallah Sima is still a Brighton player. He's under contract at Brighton, even though he is obviously on a season-long loan at Rangers. If it is that the injury is particularly serious, or that Brighton do want to assess Abdallah Sima, they have obviously every right to do that, as he is their player at the end of the day. Now, one player who has suffered an injury, as we know, an untouched non-contact injury, was Kieran Dowell. Now, Kieran Dowell went down apparently in training in La Manga. His foot got stuck in the grass or in the dirt or in something like that, and he twisted, and he is out for a long time. Now, what was revealed today is that he's had surgery. He had his operation yesterday. The operation went well, but he is out long term. I would assess that he is probably out for the rest of the season now. So yet again, I think there's two things to say on Kieran Dowell here. Kieran for me, has performed exceptionally well. Kieran has done very, very well indeed. Kieran in the last few games, since he's come back into the team since his injury, those games that he played against Kilmarnock, the games that he's played in that 2 in front of the back 4, he's certainly acquitted himself very well. He's always been on offer for the ball. He is always been, on the half turn, able to get away from players, got a good eye for a pass, gets forward, and has looked a decent player. Obviously, the counter side to that is the fact that he does seem to get injured an awful lot. So again, he's entering into that sort of same kind of level as, the likes of Ryan Jack, the likes of Tom Lawrence, as to, what does the future hold for these players who are, constantly getting injured. And I think there is a dissatisfaction from Philippe Clement with these sorts of players that are out constantly and are constantly missing time. It is frustrating. Of course, it's frustrating. When you've got a player like Dowell, who is clearly a very talented player and someone who can add to this squad, for him to be missing a number of games. We face Hibernian tomorrow. Philippe Clement did talk about the fact that it would be a very different game to the one that we've experienced in recent times against some of the teams that put in a low block. He talked about Hibernian having speedy wingers, having a different strategy to the low block, and it will be very interesting, was his word, for them. But the squad has no new injury concerns. Ben Davies is still injured, apparently. Not a long-term thing, just a short-term thing, but it has been a fair few weeks now that he has been missing for. So that is the latest from the club. And obviously the biggest news coming out of this is the fact that Kieran and Abda have joined Danilo and Roof in terms of that out long-term and missing long-term. News also, like I said, that Lowry's going out on loan, Mcrorie is going nowhere. And we are certainly not skint if we're paying £4.5 million for a player. Well, let me know what you think in the comments down below, guys. Thank you so much again for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. If you can smash the sub, that would be phenomenal. And as always, on the way out, 2 favours. Number 1, smash the like. And number 2, remember always, we are the people.